Hello Year 11 and welcome to our 7th video here for trigonometry. Today we're looking at trigonometric identities, and mostly these are just things we're going to remember. There's a couple of really key ones and I'll point them out as we go along. We can infer the others largely. Now, the reciprocal identities, and we've been over these right at the very beginning. That cosec is 1 over sine, that sec is 1 over cos, and cot is 1 over tan. You do need to remember those three. Then these ratio identities, that the tan of theta is sine theta on cos theta. That might seem like a bit of a leap, but if we think of sine as opposite on adjacent, cos as adjacent on hypotenuse, right? Then if I divide one fraction by the other, then I get opposite on adjacent, which of course is tan. Okay. Now we do have this little proviso here. We can't divide by 0, so cos theta can't be 0. That's fine. But tan theta equals sine theta over cos theta is an important identity that you will use quite regularly. Now cot, cos over sine, well, that just follows from cot being 1 over tan. This one here is also important. We could go through the proof for this, and I might do it in class, but sine squared theta plus cos squared theta equals 1. Again, another really useful and very regularly used identity. Sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. Again, we can rearrange that with a little bit of algebraic magic, and we get tan squared plus 1 equals sec squared. But not as important as sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. And cot squared plus 1 equals cosec squared. Don't worry about that. Now, these complementary identities, do you need to remember them? Perhaps. Okay, perhaps we will deal with these a little bit more, just as we do with the graphs of trig functions in a later topic. But it doesn't hurt to remember this first one, that the cos of 90 minus an angle is equal to the sine of that angle. Right here. And if you think about a right angle triangle and the relationship between sine and cos there, that probably comes together fairly neatly. And again, we might talk about that in class. Cot here and cosec as complementary identities. Don't worry so much about remembering those. To recognize them perhaps, but not so important that we remember them. So here's an example and we'll wrap it up. Simplify 1 minus cos squared alpha. Right, you sort of think, how do I simplify that? Well, remember, one of the more important identities is sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. So what I can do is I can substitute into this expression. I'll replace the 1 with sine squared plus cos squared. So 1 minus cos squared is sine squared plus cos squared. That's my 1 minus the cos squared. And of course, the cos squareds cancel each other out, and I'm just left with sine squared alpha. There we go, that's simplified. Rightio. So, tan is sine over cos. Sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. And the cos of 90 minus theta equals the sine of theta. Those are the three key ones here. Righto, that's it for today. If you've got any questions, you know what to do. Ask me in class. I'll see you then. Thanks, guys.